Welcome to the Transform My Dance Studio podcast, the only podcast for dance studio owners, where each week we bring you business growth strategies to help you increase your profits, impact the lives of more students, while ensuring you get back some time to have a little life outside of the studio. It's time for you to become the go-to studio in your area. Now, here's your host, founder of the Dance Studio Owners Association, Clint Salter.
Hey there, dance studio owners. Welcome to the Transform My Dance Studio podcast. It's Clint here, and I'm so thrilled that you're joining us for today's episode. I'm excited to be speaking with a very special guest. Her name is Sue Brooke. Sue is an Amazon best-selling author, small business mentor, speaker, coach, and idea innovator. She's also a serial entrepreneur, having founded at least a dozen, that's a lot, successful businesses, beginning with a ballroom dance studio in a small town in Nebraska at the age of 22. After moving to California, she continued her entrepreneurial ventures, first with a music production company, then moving on to a tutoring and educational learning center with 20 plus employees, serving thousands of children over the last 18 years. She's now a small business mentor who works with entrepreneurs and uses her own experience to guide their growth personally and professionally. Sue, I'm so excited for this conversation. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here. I can't wait.
Awesome. So let's start at the beginning. 22 years old in Nebraska, decided to open a ballroom dance studio. How does that happen?
Oh my gosh, that's quite a story. So my story basically starts out, I grew up in a very small little town in the middle of Nebraska, kind of like Mayberry. If you watched the Andy Griffith show, it's very much like that. So back then, that was a long time ago, entrepreneurship and owning a business wasn't really something that you had a choice of doing. It was, you're going to go to college and you're going to become a teacher or a nurse or a doctor or maybe take over the family farm. So I, of course, wanted to be a teacher like my father. My mother died when I was young, so I was raised by my father, who was a math teacher in school. Mm-hmm. So I ended up going to college, graduating with my teaching degree, and much to my father's chagrin, I got my first teaching job, but at Fred Astaire Dance Studio.
Oh, wow.
I loved dancing, and I just loved it. And that's what made me start realizing that it was a business and people paid a lot of money for their dance lessons. And what it did for them was amazing. So one of the other dance instructors and I got together and we went back to my college town where there was nothing like that and decided to open our first dance studio.
Wow. And so you open a dance studio. Tell me about the journey of running the studio, of growing the studio. What were those first couple of years like?
Well, I was very young. And of course, I knew nothing about having a business. I'd never even thought about it before. So it was one of those things that most people that start a business always do. They're really good at something like dancing, for example, or tutoring, or teaching, or baking pies, whatever it is. And they decide to go out and open a business. So we did what most other entrepreneurs would do. We went and made a beautiful center and I remember putting up drywall and making this beautiful dance floor and having a sign and a logo and all the things to open a business. And then you open the doors and there's nobody coming in the door.
Crickets, right? There's just like crickets. You're like, hey, where are the people?
I know, exactly. So I guess that was the biggest lesson I learned right away. Well, what really got me going was this. I thought, well, okay, we spent a lot of our money on getting the business open. Well, now what do we do? So we didn't have a lot of money for marketing. So I just went out into the community and I tried to figure out, well, where are my clients? Where would be the people that would want to come in here? So we went to places like dance clubs and we would talk to the owners of the dance clubs, and we would ask if we could come in and do some sort of presentation or something, and we would go there and dance all the time so people could see what we did. And then we had a lot of people asking us. We would go to Elks clubs and places where the older generation were dancing. We would go to the radio stations and the newspapers and talk to people, and a lot of networking. So it was all relationship building. That's how it started.
And what kind of helped you to grow that business after that point?
It was just continually building relationships in the community, a lot of referrals, because that was a community where there was nothing like that. There was nothing like it. Nobody would even understand what it was. So we had to do a lot of convincing people of this new thing that was there. So we had to be out in the community a lot. And of course, getting our systems and procedures down and making sure we knew what we were doing as far as money and cash flow and all of that stuff that comes, with owning a business.
Yeah, completely. And so you've had the dance studio, you've had multiple, other business. One thing I want to touch on is really overcoming adversity, because as a business owner, I know with our studio owners, things are happening, all the time in their business, in their personal lives, that are challenging. There's hurdles. How do you kind of train and how do you, view adversity and how do you push through it?
Well, I have a story. Obviously, everybody has one. I'm pretty passionate about people sharing them. And my story actually came later. After I had moved to California, and I married a musician who was he was just a musician that I found in a dive bar, basically. And I took over his music publishing and then getting him out there, and I learned everything about his part of the music business. And I gave up my dancing then, and I gave up my teaching career, and pretty much everything that was my identity to help him with his music business and helping him become the quote unquote rock star that he wanted to be. So after about 13 years, the marriage suddenly ended. It was one of those things where it was just, he left and I was left standing there going, okay, who am I? I'm a musician's wife. I was backstage. I didn't know. I had lost my identity essentially over those 13 years.
Yeah.
But the thing that was, if that wasn't bad enough, which a lot of people go through divorces, but then I was hit by a truck, literally hit by a truck. In my little Volkswagen Beetle, I was T-boned by a big F-250 truck, and I ended up in a hospital bed, lying there for 3 weeks, and I was pretty much full of titanium, jaw wired shut. I was a mess and thinking, what am I going to do? What do I have to get out of this bed for? Who am I? And do I have any friends? I mean, what is going to happen with my life right now? Yeah. And I had to make a decision. I had to decide, am I going to just lay down and die, or am I going to be the rock star in my own life? And that's obviously what I decided to do, because I'm still here. And I am just passionate about helping people realize that things like that can absolutely become the best thing that can ever happen. And both of those things were the best thing that could have ever happened to me. And that's what's made me who I am today. And that's what's making me be able to go out and inspire people to take these adversities and realize that, wow, when something like that happens and you hit that dead end or get hit by that truck, it really is going to probably be the best thing that ever happened to you, because it's just the universe telling you it's time to go in a different direction.
Thanks for sharing that story, because I'm sure everyone listening can relate in some way to going through some adversity, or there's adversity that's going to come up, in front of us. And I think your story is really going to help our listeners. So I appreciate that. So I want to talk and help out our small studio business owners who are like in the startup phase. So they're about to embark on starting their studio, or maybe they've been doing it for about a year. I know you work with a lot of young, startup business owners as well. What advice do you give your clients when they're starting? What should they be aware of? What should they be focusing on?
Okay, so there are 3 keys, I like to say, of business success. There are 3 things that every business needs to do, and they have to do it in the right order. It's what every huge business, the biggest, most successful businesses in the world do. They follow this system. And the first thing, the biggest mistake business owners make is they don't do the research to determine where, or who, I should say, their ideal client is. Where are they? Who are they? Where do they live? And how to speak their language. So those are 2 things that you need to do to figure out, okay, if I'm going to start a business, I need to know where my money's coming from. And a lot of people, and I am completely guilty of this, when I started my tutoring business, I had worked for Sylvan Learning Center, which was, they were expensive. They weren't, there were a lot of people we had to turn away. So most business owners like me, I said, I want to help these people that can't afford the bigger tutoring centers. So that's what made me start my business in the first place. The problem was when you want to help the people, which is great to help them, but you also need to find and discover who your target market is that can actually pay you. So that have the money for your services. And you need to make money so that you can help some of the people that may not be able to afford it later. So you can still help those people that might not be able to afford what you're offering, but you need to determine who your avatar is so that you can actually make money. So that was a hard lesson to learn, because we all want to save everyone. We all want to save the world, but we also need to eat and make our businesses grow. So that's a huge thing, I think, is determining who your client is and then how to speak to them. So everybody speaks a different language. Obviously, men and women speak different languages. So when you're marketing and you're putting your message out there on your website and in your advertising, you need to use the right language to speak to them. And the third thing would be, after you figure all that out, then you have to learn how to get people to walk in the door, how to drive traffic. So that's things like you have to know marketing strategies, like relationship marketing strategies, offline and online, like putting out Facebook ads and things like that, and knowing how that all works.
Yeah, for sure. I love those 3 things: audience, language, getting people through the door. What about, because one of the things I love about your story is, you began your tutoring company like in your living room, and you scaled it and you grew it to an empire. What tips would you give our studio owners who are in the stage where they're having great growth, but it's not as fast as they want, and they're trying to scale the business, but maybe they don't have, the right people in the right seats, or they're just coming up against some hurdles. How walk us through like that journey for you, starting in your living room to, building a large company.
Okay, so reading The E-Myth by Michael Gerber is a great thing that every business owner should do. And I made the mistake of not reading that first, and I had a lot of mistakes. But basically what that book tells you, and that's kind of, they talk a lot about McDonald's and how McDonald's started and why they are such a successful company. And it really bases on your systems and procedures, and really nailing down and writing them down in a systems and procedure manual. So everything that needs to be done, from who is going to unlock the front door and how it's done, to who is taking out the trash, to who is doing the website, to who locks the door at the end of the day. You have to have those systems and procedures down perfectly. And the best way to do that really is to think about your business as you want to franchise it. If you wanted to franchise your business or open other locations, you will need a manual, some sort of something that you can hand to the new owner that lists step by step exactly what they need to do. So that was a big mistake I made in my business in the beginning. I did everything. It was pretty funny. At one point, I was sitting at a table with 3 students in front of me, and I had my computer behind me. I had my personal phone in one hand and the business phone in another hand. And someone would walk in the door and want information. And then a parent would walk in and want to get paid. And I was doing everything. It was just me. me doing everything. Well, there's no way to scale just one person. So you need to get your systems, your procedures, lay out your organization the way you want it to look in a few years. And then your name is going to be on all those things. You're going to be the CEO and the marketing director and the maintenance person. But what you need to do is get the systems set up and then start plugging people into those different positions so that you can scale your business. So that's probably the most important thing when you're going to scale.
Yeah, I love it. They're really good tips. I know that you've pinpointed 11 must-have tips for marketing small business. I'd love you to give maybe our studio owners like 3 things that they should be doing to get new students through the door.
Okay, yeah, those 11, there's a lot of really good things in there. There's some basic things in there when you're networking and things like that. But number 1, I guess, well, first of all, being authentic and sharing your story. This is something that, the world's changing. It changes all the time. And I know that the last few years when I sold my tutoring business a year and a half ago, that the couple years before that, everything started turning to reality TV and YouTube and Facebook. And when I first went through a business course, that they were telling us, the owner needs to be outside of the picture. Like no one should know who you are. But it is completely different now. So you need, as a business owner, to put your story out there and get raw and real and show people that you're a real person, that you care about your clients, and tell your story of how you got to where you are and why you started a business in the first place. Writing a book is a huge, huge thing that I tell everybody they should do. And I know people go, I could never write a book. But there are ways that you can write a book pretty fast and position yourself as an expert and an authority in your industry and set yourself apart. I know that's a long, long explanation for one of the tips, but it's really important to let people know who you are. It's a big one. I know that I do Facebook Live videos every single day, and I have gotten so many clients just by people seeing the real me on video, just off the cuff. So that's really big. Your website. Make sure your website has the right message, is speaking to the perfect person that you want as your client. And make sure that the third one would be make sure you have a list, a call to action on your website where people can opt in and you can start building your client list.
That's great. What, any others you want to share with us?
Any what?
Any others that you want to share with us?
Well, let's see. There's just so many. I mean, having little things like making sure that if you have a business card, to put your picture on it so people can see who you are. And anything with relationship marketing and just going out and form relationships. A big one for me is this. If you go out networking, and I know when you have a brick and mortar kind of business, you really do need to be out in the community, going to some of the chamber mixers and those kind of things. But another big mistake business owners make is they go there with the intention of trying to sell everybody your services or your products. And what you really want to do is go in there and try to find some JV partners that will help you. So you go up to someone and say, okay, here I have a dance studio, and maybe you're meeting a plumber. Let's say I play a game with that. I say, well, how could this plumber and his clients and my clients, how could we help each other? So with my tutoring business, I actually would tell them, oh my gosh, why don't you go ahead? Here's some free tutoring sessions. Why don't you give all your clients as a bonus when you go to them to give them a free tutoring session? And in exchange, I will do the same with my clients. I will promote you and your plumbing business because we both have kids. So it's really forming the relationships and JV partnerships in the community. And then you're just helping each other and we're all in it together, right?
I love it. That's true. So good. Those partnerships are crucial and really impactful on so many levels. I mean, just to form those relationships with local business owners who are, in the same boat as you are. It's great to build that community as well as, helping each other, get new clients through the door. So I want to wrap up. I want to ask you your top 3 tips for running a successful business from all your experience, plus all the work now you do with your clients. What are the 3 things that successful business owners are doing?
Having your systems and procedures down and making sure you write them out. That is really essential if you want to grow your business. If you want to stay stagnant, don't do that. But make sure that you have your systems and procedures down. Once you start building your staff and you're building your team, make sure that your culture is one that it gets everyone involved. So rather than being the boss and telling people what to do, it's so funny. I was just talking to a girl who is sick of her job. She's quitting because she has a boss that is constantly saying, I'm the boss, you need to listen to me. And that is something that I teach a lot of. A really good thing to do is go research Zappos, the big company Zappos. They have the best company culture of any in the world, and their business was built on having a great culture and of people around you. The third one is just what I keep mentioning is relationship marketing and forming relationships in the community and position yourself as an expert and your business as being unique, be different than everyone else. That's how I grew my tutoring business. I had a summer camp, and all the other people that did summer camps, they just took the kids to Magic Mountain and Disneyland. And my summer camp was more educational. They went to Ronald McDonald's house and gave back to the community. I made sure that my business was completely unique and separate from everybody else.
Perfect. Great tips to leave us with, Sue. Look, such a pleasure to chat with you. Where can our listeners go for more information about the work that you do?
Well, this morning I actually put up a special page for everyone, and I'm going to give away 5 free gifts for everyone if you go to
Thank you.
So it's SueBrooke.com. That's BROOKE.com/dance, DANCE. And if you go there and put your information in, you're going to get my free top 11 business and marketing tips. I'm also going to offer you all a free strategy session with me in person. So there's a link there that you can click to schedule time to talk to me about your business. And it's one of my favorite things to do is just really brainstorm and help people get laser focused and help with any challenges. The third free gift is a free webinar to learn those 3 keys to business success formula and how to get your business online and get clients while you're sleeping. I have a second webinar to learn about one of the best offline marketing strategies for dance studio owners regarding relationship marketing. And my 5th free gift is to join my private Facebook group so you can interact with like-minded business owners, get weekly inspiration and business tips to help you grow your business.
Wow. Lucky studio owners, Sue. I really appreciate you putting that together for our audience. What was the URL one more time?
Okay, it's SueBrooke.com/dance.
Easy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Sue, great to chat with you again. Appreciate your time and look forward to connecting again really soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thanks, Sue. Great to chat.
Thank you for joining us today. For all the resource links from the show and to receive access to our free dance studio growth training, make sure you visit transformmydancestudio.com.